Over 2,500 years ago, a man sat beneath a tree and changed the course of human history, not with wealth, power, or armies, but with peace, silence, and truth. His name was Siddhartha Gautama, known to the world as Buddha. In an age where we rush for success and drown in noise, his words still echo with calm clarity. These are not just old teachings. They are timeless lessons that can rebuild your mind, your peace, and your entire way of living. Before Buddha found enlightenment, he lived a life most people would envy. He was a prince surrounded by comfort, luxury, and love. Yet deep inside, he felt something missing. The more he saw of the world, sickness, aging, death, the more he realized that no pleasure could silence the suffering within. That's when he began his journey toward understanding the truth of life, a journey that started not with the world, but within himself. The first and most powerful lesson from Buddha is simple: know yourself. Most people spend their whole lives chasing everything outside them: money, fame, success, approval, but rarely stop to ask, who am I? Buddha taught that the root of all suffering lies in ignorance, not ignorance of facts or knowledge, but ignorance of the self. When you don't understand yourself, you become a prisoner of your emotions. You react, you compare, you crave, and you suffer. But when you start to see your own mind clearly, everything begins to change. You start recognizing your anger before it controls you, your sadness before it consumes you, your desires before they destroy your peace. Buddha called this awareness mindfulness. It means to be fully awake in the present moment, not lost in memories, not worried about the future. Most of us live half asleep, repeating patterns of thought that bring pain. But when you start observing your own mind, you begin to see how your suffering is created by your own attachment to thoughts. He once said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." This single sentence holds a lifetime of truth. Every thought you nurture shapes your reality. If your thoughts are full of fear, you will see danger everywhere. If your thoughts are full of kindness, you will find beauty even in pain. Buddha discovered that we suffer not because of what happens, but because of how we think about what happens. You lose your job, one mind sees failure, another sees opportunity. The event is the same, but the experience is completely different. The difference is understanding. That's why Buddha's first lesson starts with awareness. Sit with yourself, watch your breath, and listen to your thoughts. You'll see how restless your mind really is. It jumps from one thing to another like a wild monkey, never still. Buddha said that peace cannot come from trying to control everything. It comes from understanding the nature of the mind itself. He compared the mind to water. When it's disturbed, you can't see clearly. But when it becomes calm, the reflection appears. The world hasn't changed. Only your perception has. When you start to understand yourself, you stop blaming others, you stop fighting reality, and you start finding peace even in chaos. This was the beginning of Buddha's enlightenment, a deep realization that truth cannot be found in temples or books but within your own awareness. Every person, he believed, carries the seed of enlightenment inside them. It's not something you earn. It's something you uncover by peeling away layers of illusion. He spent 6 years in deep meditation, fighting his own mind, facing hunger, fear, and confusion. And when he finally understood the nature of his thoughts, he realized that suffering doesn't come from life. It comes from resistance to life. The more you cling to control, the more pain you create. Buddha's awakening began when he saw that everything changes, nothing stays forever. Joy, pain, success, failure, even life itself, all things rise and fade like waves. When you stop fighting that truth, you stop suffering. That is the first step toward freedom. Modern people often think peace means escaping problems, but Buddha taught that peace means facing them with wisdom. You cannot stop storms, but you can learn to stand still while they pass. When you understand yourself, you stop reacting and start responding. Your emotions no longer control you, you begin to master them. Understanding yourself also means letting go of the false image you carry, the one built by society, by fear, by expectation. You don't have to be what others want you to be. Buddha walked away from his royal title because he saw that truth has no label, and peace has no price. To know yourself, you must be brave enough to let go of who you are not. He once said, "There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path." It means happiness isn't found at the end of your journey. It's in every step you take toward understanding. When you stop searching outside and start looking within, you begin to see that everything you ever wanted, peace, love, strength, was already inside you. Many people misunderstand Buddha's teaching as denial of life, but it's the opposite. It's about living more fully. When you understand your thoughts and desires, you can enjoy the world without being consumed by it. You can love without clinging, succeed without greed, and live without fear. One of his disciples once asked, "Master, what have you gained from meditation?" Buddha smiled and said, "Nothing. But let me tell you what I have lost: anger, anxiety, depression, insecurity, and fear of death." That was the essence of his teaching. Understanding doesn't add anything new to your life. It removes what never belonged. In today's world, people carry constant noise in their heads, thoughts, notifications, pressure. Everyone wants more, but few know why. Buddha's first lesson invites you to pause, to breathe, to return to yourself. The more you understand your mind, the less it controls you. Think of your life right now. Every worry, every argument, every stress begins in the mind. You cannot always control what happens, but you can always control your reaction. That's the foundation of understanding, realizing that peace is a choice, not a condition. When Buddha reached enlightenment, he didn't gain divine powers. He simply saw the world as it is, pure, impermanent, interconnected. And he saw himself as part of that same flow. He realized there is no separation between you and the universe. Everything moves together. Everything changes together. This realization freed him from the endless cycle of craving and fear. He no longer needed to chase happiness because he became happiness itself, calm, clear, and aware. That's the reward of understanding yourself. When you stop chasing the world stops running from you. In every teaching he gave, Buddha reminded people that self-awareness is the key to freedom. Without it, we live as slaves to desire, anger, and ignorance. With it, even the hardest life becomes peaceful. Because once you understand your own mind, you stop fighting the world, and start living in harmony with it. He once told his followers, "Just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life." That spiritual life doesn't mean religion or rituals. It means awareness, the light that shows you who you really are. Without that light, you walk blindly. With it, every step becomes clear. The first timeless lesson from Buddha is not about worship or belief, it's about awareness. The power to change your life doesn't come from the outside world, it comes from knowing your mind. When you understand your thoughts, your emotions, and your reactions, you begin to live consciously. When asked how to start this journey, Buddha gave a simple answer. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. You don't need a temple or teacher to begin. You just need honesty. The courage to look at your own mind without judgment, and the patience to see through the illusions it creates. That's where true freedom begins, not in success or comfort, but in understanding. The world will always test you, but the more you know yourself, the less it can shake you. And that is the foundation of peace. Because the truth is simple, you cannot change the world until you change yourself. And you cannot change yourself until you understand who you really are. That's why Buddha's first timeless lesson, know yourself deeply, remains the foundation of all wisdom. Every other teaching grows from this root. Without understanding, there can be no peace, no compassion, no freedom. But once you begin to know your own mind, everything else falls into place. And that is how Buddha's journey to enlightenment truly began, not by conquering the world, but by understanding himself. Buddha taught that life unfolds only in this very moment. The past is gone, the future hasn't arrived, and the present is all we truly possess. Yet most people live trapped between regrets of yesterday and worries about tomorrow. The essence of mindfulness is to bring our wandering mind back home, to the now. Because when we live in the present, peace naturally finds us. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Phones, noise, work, and endless notifications pull our attention in every direction. Buddha's wisdom reminds us that the key to clarity isn't in doing more, but in being present with what we already have. He said, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." This simple sentence carries the power to change the quality of our lives. Mindfulness doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means being aware of it fully. When you eat, eat. When you walk, walk. When you talk, listen with your whole being. Most people think they are living, but they're only half awake, stuck in their thoughts instead of their experiences. Buddha's teachings pull us out of that fog and remind us that real joy comes from awareness, not from chasing more. The human mind is restless. It runs in circles, craving control, replaying old mistakes. But through mindfulness, we begin to see that thoughts are not facts. They are passing clouds in the sky of our mind. The sky doesn't fight the clouds, it allows them to pass. In the same way, mindfulness helps us to observe without reacting, to breathe instead of rushing. This practice builds inner strength, patience, and peace. Every breath we take can be an anchor to the present. When Buddha guided his followers, he didn't ask them to believe blindly. He asked them to observe their breath, their sensations, their thoughts. He knew that awareness leads to understanding, and understanding leads to freedom. The more we practice observing, the less we suffer from unnecessary reactions. Buddha also understood that pain is a part of life, but suffering is optional. Pain happens when something hurts us. Suffering begins when we resist that pain, replay it, or make it part of our identity. Mindfulness teaches acceptance. It doesn't mean liking everything. It means facing life as it is, not as we wish it to be. That acceptance opens the door to peace. In our fast-paced world, We often think peace is something we must chase after. But Buddha said peace is already here. We just need to stop long enough to notice it. Imagine sitting in a storm and realizing that inside, there is a calm center. That is mindfulness. It's the ability to stay grounded even when the world around you is chaotic. Buddha's followers practiced mindfulness not only during meditation but in their daily lives. When sweeping the floor, they were mindful of every motion. When drinking water, they were aware of every sip. These small acts of awareness turned ordinary moments into sacred ones. They discovered that enlightenment wasn't far away. It was hidden in the simplicity of the present. Many people today misunderstand mindfulness as a relaxation trick. But it's far deeper than that. It's not about escaping reality. It's about being fully alive in it. Mindfulness helps us see things as they truly are, not through the lens of fear, desire, or ego. Once we see clearly, wisdom naturally arises. We begin to act with compassion instead of reaction. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is how it changes relationships. When we are truly present with someone, we listen differently. We don't wait for our turn to speak, we understand. Buddha taught that listening with full attention is an act of love. Through presence, we give others the rare gift of feeling seen and heard. In the quiet of mindfulness, we also meet ourselves. We see our habits, our emotions, our triggers. Instead of judging them, we study them gently. Over time, we realize that everything we need to know about peace, we already carry within. The noise of the world just keeps us from hearing it. When we silence that noise, the truth becomes clear. Science today confirms what Buddha knew 2,500 years ago. Mindfulness rewires the brain. It lowers stress, improves focus, and brings emotional balance. But beyond the science lies something deeper. It helps us live with purpose. Every mindful act becomes a form of gratitude. When we taste food with awareness, we taste life. When we walk with awareness, we feel connected to the earth beneath us. Many people struggle to begin. Their minds feel too busy. But Buddha would say, that's exactly why you must start. The more chaotic your thoughts, the more you need to anchor yourself in the present. Start with one breath, one mindful step, one moment of silence. The beauty of mindfulness is that it doesn't demand perfection, it only asks for awareness. The Buddha himself found enlightenment under a tree, through deep observation of his mind. He watched his thoughts rise and fall like waves, until he saw the truth. Everything changes, nothing is permanent. When he saw this clearly, his suffering ended. He realized that the present moment, free from attachment, holds infinite peace. In our modern life, we often postpone happiness. We say, I'll be happy when I get the job, the house, the love. But mindfulness teaches that happiness is already here. It's not in the next achievement, it's in the next breath. The ability to enjoy this moment is the greatest form of freedom. When you start practicing mindfulness, it can feel unfamiliar. Your mind might resist, trying to pull you back into distractions. But with time, awareness becomes natural. You begin to notice small things, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of your breath, the rhythm of life unfolding around you. These details remind you that life is happening now, not later. The Buddha's teaching on mindfulness is not limited to monks or meditation halls. It's for every human being who wishes to live deeply and peacefully. Whether you are washing dishes or driving to work, Mindfulness transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary experiences. It allows you to see beauty where you once saw routine. Mindfulness also softens the ego. When you are present, you realize that the world doesn't revolve around your thoughts or emotions. You see that everyone is fighting their own battles, everyone is carrying unseen burdens. This realization creates empathy, compassion, and connection. The walls between me and them begin to fade. The lesson of mindfulness is timeless because it applies to every era, every culture, every human heart. It doesn't require belief, it requires awareness. It doesn't demand worship, it invites observation. In silence, we learn to listen to life itself. That's where real wisdom begins. To live mindfully is to live fully. It's to taste, feel, and see the richness of life without being consumed by it. Buddha's message is clear. The present moment is the only true home of the mind. When we learn to return to it again and again, peace follows naturally. The storm outside may continue, but within us, there is stillness, a peace that no one can take away. And that is the second timeless lesson from Buddha, to awaken from the fog of distraction and to live each moment as if it were the only one, because in truth, it is. One of the deepest truths the Buddha ever revealed is this: life contains suffering. It was not said as a curse, but as a mirror held to reality. He called it dukkha, a word that means dissatisfaction, unease, or suffering. No matter how rich, powerful, or loved someone is, no human life is free from this experience. We lose people we care for, we age, we get sick, we face disappointment, and we struggle against change. Buddha didn't deny this truth. He embraced it so that he could understand it and rise above it. The first step toward ending suffering is to look at it directly. Most people spend their lives running from pain, covering it with pleasure, distractions, or denial. But Buddha realized that avoidance only deepens the wound. When we stop running and simply look at our pain, we begin to understand its cause. Suffering, he taught, doesn't come from life itself. It comes from our attachment to how we wish life would be. We suffer because we cling. We want things to stay the same. We want people to love us forever. We want control over what's uncontrollable. But everything in life is constantly changing. When we fight this truth, we suffer. When we accept it, we begin to find peace. The Buddha saw that impermanence, the constant flow of change, is not a problem. It's the nature of existence. The problem arises when the human mind refuses to let go. He explained this through the image of a hand holding a burning coal. The tighter we grip, the more we suffer. But if we release it, the pain stops. This simple image captures the essence of wisdom. Suffering is not punishment, it's a teacher. It shows us where we're holding too tightly, where we're resisting reality. Once we understand this, we begin to let go, and with that, peace starts to bloom. Every desire, every attachment, carries a seed of pain. When we want something deeply, love, success, approval, and we don't get it, we hurt. Even when we do get it, the fear of losing it lingers. Buddha saw that even pleasure can turn into suffering when it becomes addiction. It's not that joy is wrong, but when we depend on it for peace, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment. True peace, he said, comes not from possession, but from understanding. Think of how often we chase happiness outside ourselves. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy when I get that job, that relationship, that recognition. But as soon as we achieve it, the mind wants more. This endless craving keeps us trapped in a cycle of desire and disappointment. Buddha called it tanha, or thirst. It's the constant longing that drives us to chase illusions, believing they'll finally make us whole. Buddha didn't judge this craving, he simply saw it for what it was, a misunderstanding of where happiness truly lies. He compared life to a wheel turning endlessly. Each spoke of the wheel represents a new desire. As long as we chase the next one, the wheel keeps turning, and suffering continues. But once we see that peace isn't found in the next desire, the wheel slows down. Awareness begins to break the cycle. Suffering also arises from ignorance, from not seeing things as they really are. We mistake temporary pleasures for permanent happiness. We believe that what's outside us can fill the emptiness inside. But Buddha said the real cause of suffering is within the mind itself, not the world around us. The mind creates its own prison through attachment, fear, and illusion. Liberation, therefore, comes from transforming the mind, not from changing the world. Understanding suffering doesn't mean we become cold or detached. It means we develop wisdom and compassion. When we see that every human suffers in some way, our hearts open. We stop comparing, judging, or resenting others. We begin to see that pain connects us, not separates us. The Buddha's wisdom teaches that compassion is the natural response to understanding suffering, both our own and others. He taught that to end suffering, we must follow the path of awareness, ethics, and wisdom, what he called the Noble Eightfold Path. It's not about blind belief, but about practice. When we act with kindness, think with clarity, and live with mindfulness, the roots of suffering begin to loosen. The journey isn't about escaping life, but about living it with understanding. Many people fear suffering, thinking it's a sign of failure or weakness. But Buddha showed that suffering is not the enemy, ignorance is. Suffering can be our greatest teacher when we listen to it. Every painful experience reveals something about what we cling to, what we fear, or what we refuse to accept. When we look deeply, we realize that suffering can lead to wisdom, just as darkness can lead to light. Buddha himself knew suffering intimately. Before his enlightenment, he lived a life of luxury as Prince Siddhartha. He had everything, wealth, beauty, comfort, yet he felt a deep emptiness inside. When he saw sickness, old age, and death for the first time, his heart shattered. That pain drove him to search for truth. It was through facing suffering, not avoiding it, that he discovered liberation. This is one of the greatest lessons from Buddha, that our pain can be the doorway to awakening. When we stop running from discomfort and meet it with awareness, it loses its power over us. The same fire that burns us can also light our path, if we learn how to use it wisely. To understand suffering, we must also understand impermanence. Everything changes, our bodies, relationships, emotions, even our thoughts. When we cling to things as if they were permanent, we suffer when they change. But when we accept impermanence as the nature of life, we begin to flow with it instead of fighting against it. Acceptance is not defeat, it's freedom. Buddha once said, "You only lose what you cling to." This teaching is simple but profound. The less we cling, the lighter we become. We don't stop loving, caring, or enjoying life. We simply stop depending on those things for our happiness. That detachment allows us to love more freely and live more peacefully. Even in modern life, Buddha's insight holds true. Look around, and you'll see how suffering arises in small ways every day, in the anxiety of missing out, in the fear of rejection, in the chase for perfection. Our culture feeds this craving endlessly. But the more we chase, the emptier we feel. The Buddha's wisdom cuts through this illusion. Happiness cannot be bought, found, or earned, it can only be realized within. When we stop trying to escape pain and instead understand it, we start to grow. Pain shows us our limits, but it also shows us our strength. It reveals our humanity. Every tear carries a message. Every disappointment has a lesson. The Buddha's approach was not to numb the heart but to awaken it. Only through awareness can pain transform into understanding. In learning about suffering, we also learn about compassion. Once we see our own pain clearly, we begin to understand others without judgment. Buddha's followers often said that enlightenment was not about becoming divine, but about becoming deeply human, someone who sees clearly and loves fully. The Buddha didn't promise a life without pain. He offered a way to live peacefully despite it. That's the real meaning of enlightenment, not an escape from the world, but freedom within it. When we stop fighting reality and accept its nature, we find that the world itself becomes softer. The path to ending suffering begins with honesty, the courage to face what hurts. It continues with mindfulness, the awareness to stay present even when life is difficult. And it blossoms with wisdom, the understanding that nothing is permanent, not even pain. When we realize this, we no longer fear change. We begin to trust the flow of life. Suffering loses its control when we see it clearly. It becomes a teacher instead of a tyrant. Each moment of pain carries a chance for awakening. Each heartbreak invites us to love more wisely. Each failure guides us toward humility and strength. Buddha's message is timeless because every human heart experiences pain, and every heart seeks peace. Understanding suffering is not about avoiding it, it's about transforming it. Just as a lotus grows from mud, wisdom grows from pain. The Buddha's journey reminds us that no darkness is permanent, and no pain is meaningless when faced with awareness. The path to peace begins not by running from our suffering, but by walking through it with open eyes and an open heart. And that is the third timeless lesson from Buddha, to understand that suffering is not life's punishment but its greatest teacher, showing us where we must let go, where we must grow, and where we can finally be free. Every human heart longs for peace. Yet, for most people, peace feels distant, like something they might earn one day after solving every problem, achieving every goal, or making every dream come true. But Buddha taught something completely different. Peace is not something we find after life calms down. Peace begins the moment we let go. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means releasing the weight of attachment, the endless need to control what cannot be controlled. The more we try to hold on to things, the more life seems to slip through our fingers. Buddha understood that freedom is not in having more, it's in needing less. The heart that clings is restless, but the heart that lets go is light. In one of his teachings, Buddha compared attachment to carrying a heavy bag everywhere you go. At first, you think it's valuable. You hold it tightly because it contains things you love, memories, possessions, expectations. But as you walk further, your arms ache, your back hurts, and every step becomes painful. The moment you finally drop the bag, you feel relief. That's the power of letting go. We often mistake control for safety. We believe that if we can manage every detail, predict every outcome, and secure every relationship, we'll finally be at peace. But control is an illusion. Life moves on its own rhythm, seasons change, people evolve, and circumstances shift. When we stop trying to control what's beyond our reach, we open ourselves to peace. Acceptance becomes our greatest strength. Buddha saw that clinging creates suffering because it resists change. Everything in life is impermanent: our youth, health, possessions, and even the people we love. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop demanding that things stay the same. You allow life to move, as it always has. You learn to love deeply but without chains. Many people fear letting go because they believe it means losing something. But the truth is, letting go makes space for what truly belongs to us. When we release the need to control, life flows more naturally. Opportunities appear, people connect, and joy returns. Buddha said, "You can only lose what you cling to." That wisdom still holds power today. Think about how much of our daily stress comes from attachment. We cling to our identity, our opinions, our status. We worry about what others think. We carry grudges, replaying old arguments that ended long ago. These invisible burdens drain our peace. Buddha's path invites us to set them down, not through force, but through understanding. When we realize that holding on hurts us more than anyone else, we naturally begin to release. Forgiveness is one of the greatest acts of letting go. It doesn't mean we approve of someone's actions. It means we stop poisoning our heart with resentment. Carrying anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Buddha encouraged forgiveness not as a favor to others, but as a gift to ourselves. When we forgive, we unchain our soul from the past. Letting go also applies to our expectations. Much of our disappointment in life comes not from what happens, but from how we think it should happen. We create stories in our minds: how people should treat us, how success should look, how the future should unfold. When reality doesn't match those stories, we feel pain. But when we release those expectations, we discover that life itself, as it is, can be beautiful. Buddha's own life is a living example of letting go. He was born into royalty, surrounded by luxury and comfort. Yet, when he saw the truth of human suffering, he let go of everything: wealth, status, even family ties, to seek enlightenment. It wasn't an act of rejection, it was an act of freedom. He understood that clinging to temporary pleasures would never bring lasting peace. By releasing everything, he gained everything that truly mattered. In our world today, we cling not just to things but also to identities. We attach to roles: parent, leader, victim, winner. These labels may give us a sense of self, but they can also trap us. When life changes, and those roles fall away, we feel lost. Buddha taught that who we truly are is beyond all labels. When we let go of identity, we discover a deeper truth: we are awareness itself, not the stories we tell about ourselves. Letting go requires trust: trust in life's flow, trust in impermanence, trust in ourselves. When we stop fighting against what's happening, we find that the universe has its own rhythm, often wiser than our plans. Some doors close not to punish us, but to redirect us. Some losses happen not to break us, but to awaken us. Letting go allows us to see the hidden blessings behind change. It's not always easy. The mind resists. It says, "If I let go, I'll lose control." I'll be vulnerable. But Buddha's wisdom reminds us that vulnerability is not weakness, it's the path to authenticity. When we stop pretending that we can hold everything together, we begin to breathe again. Real peace comes when we accept that uncertainty is part of life. There's a story from Buddha's life where he told his followers to imagine holding a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. But if you hold it gently, it stays. That's how peace works. When we loosen our grip on life, on people, on outcomes, on desires, we discover that we don't lose anything real. We only lose the illusion of control. Letting go is also about self-compassion. We hold on to guilt, mistakes, and shame, believing that punishing ourselves will somehow make things right. But Buddha taught that self-hate only deepens suffering. The path to peace begins when we forgive ourselves for being human. Every mistake carries a lesson. Every wound holds wisdom. When we stop attacking ourselves for the past, we create space for healing. Relationships, too, transform through letting go. Love built on attachment is fragile. It depends on conditions. But love rooted in freedom is pure. When we let go of the need to possess or control someone, love becomes unconditional. We no longer love to gain something. We love because it's our nature to do so. Buddha called this kind of love metta, loving kindness, free from attachment. Letting go also means releasing the past. We can't step into peace if we're still holding the weight of yesterday. Memories can be teachers, but when they turn into chains, they imprison us. Buddha's wisdom teaches that the past is gone, learn from it, then release it. The future hasn't arrived, don't fear it. The present is the only moment where peace can exist. The act of letting go is like unclenching a fist that's been tight for too long. At first it hurts. The muscles resist. But slowly, the hand opens, and with it comes relief. Similarly, when we let go emotionally, we might feel exposed at first, but then lightness follows. The energy once trapped in holding on becomes free, and we begin to live more fully. The Buddha didn't tell people to reject the world. He encouraged them to live in it wisely. Letting go doesn't mean walking away from life. It means walking through life with open hands instead of clenched fists. It means participating fully, but without losing your center. You can care deeply without clinging. You can love without fear. When we let go of attachment, gratitude naturally grows. We begin to appreciate things for what they are, not for how long we can keep them. Every moment becomes precious because we know it's fleeting. Instead of asking, "How long will this last?" we start saying, "How beautiful that it's here now." This mindset turns ordinary moments into treasures. In the silence of letting go, peace arises on its own. You no longer chase it, it finds you. Because peace was never missing. It was only buried under layers of attachment and fear. Once those layers dissolve, what remains is clarity, stillness, and freedom. Letting go is not something we do once, it's a practice. Every day, life invites us to release something, an expectation, a grudge, a fear, a false belief. Each act of surrender opens the heart a little more. Over time, letting go becomes a way of living, a dance with impermanence, a trust in the rhythm of existence. The more we let go, the lighter we become. We start to see that we never really owned anything, not possessions, not people, not even time. Everything is borrowed, everything passes. But that truth is not sad, it's liberating. Because once we accept it, we stop clinging, and we start truly living. And that is the fourth timeless lesson from Buddha. Peace is not found in holding on, but in letting go. When we release the illusions of control, we discover the calm that was always within us. In letting go, we don't lose our life, we finally begin to live it.